Good morning and welcome to SimWorld today, Friday edition, July 18th. Plenty to get to. A little bit of breaking news in the association that we saw yesterday. Some speculation on my part coming up here on this, and a little evaluation of the two and through rule as we get ready for that to enter its second season. But let's start with the breaking news, and that is Damian Lillard headed back to Portland, where he signs a 3-year, $42 million deal. Let's rule out the first year because he's not going to be playing for that first season that he's back in Portland. But in a situation in which Dame could have gone to any team, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Warriors were the three teams that most people, the Heat, I think, were linked to him. The team that were most linked to him, and hey, we want him in our organization despite the fact that he's not going to play next year. This return to Portland feels maybe obvious in retrospect. He gets to go back home, whereas his home is Oakland, where he grew up, but to go back to where his family is, I believe that's where he spends his off season, where it was whatever his family situation is, and he gets to be in an organization he's very familiar with, that he oscillated on ever wanting to leave. Right? I mean, this was a guy that didn't want to leave Portland. He was very hesitant to ever ask for a trade out of Portland, and when he did, it wasn't the type of forceful demand or the type of dramatic departure that we've seen from other guys. And it's the rare champion, or not champion because he didn't win a championship, but the rare star leaving an organization where I feel like collectively we're like, yeah, it's probably time. He could do better elsewhere. It's a team that really wasn't competing at a high level, especially in a very deep Western Conference. And I don't know that his return is going to vaunt them up next season into being that, because it's a team that's got, Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson and Drew Holiday. I mean, it's a pretty guard-heavy team for Damian Lillard to walk back into, and that was part of why they decided to move on from him, was getting Scoot Henderson and feeling like, hey, we've got a guard of the future. Let's start building for that future. But this feels obvious in that, of course, he goes home, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a great way. That the guy knew he wasn't competing next year, so why not rehab in a spot? He wasn't playing next year, forget about competing. So why not play in a spot that they know you, your family's around, you're not, you signed with I bet you, I'm willing to bet, and I have no intel on this, but I'm willing to gander that Damian Lillard was going to spend this entire upcoming season in Portland, right? He was going to spend his time in Portland with family, because why would you not when you're just rehabbing? And hey, why not get paid? I don't know what the math on it. 12 years, $13 million a year. Have a professional organization there with you that's walking you through it, so you're not just doing it with your own trainer. To me, it feels obvious. He was never going to play this coming season. At least he shouldn't. And for him to be able to return back to where he grew as a SWBA star, and to be in an organization that adores him, and a city that adores him, and his family's back around. I think he's talked quite a bit about how being away from Portland was very challenging in Milwaukee, and all of the life events that happened for him at that point in time. This feels right. And I think it's great that we are seeing a star, and we've seen a couple of it, but not too many, where stars are choosing, I want to be where it's nice for me, right? I mean, Klay Thompson talked about last season going to Dallas instead of Los Angeles because of the no-income tax in Texas. We don't typically see a lot of SWBA guys. You look at the SWHL, hockey dudes are flocking to zero state income states. That's why the Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning are the cream of the crop in hockey. We haven't seen that happen in basketball. And for a guy like Damian Lillard, who definitely had a large number of suitors, to not only get the fact that he got 42 mil over 3 years, I mean, hats off to the agency that he's got to be able to not only get paid his massive money over the next 5 seasons from the the Bucks, but also to add 42. I think there was a lot of people that thought he was going to be getting like a minimum deal, right? Or like a 5 mil a year. No, this guy's getting money. This guy's getting money over the next 3 years, and he's doing it in an environment that he's familiar with, and I think that's great. Let's stay with the things that are good. Maybe I wanted to think about the to and through rule. And it kind of like an asterisk to and through because we saw Cooper Flag and Dylan Harper both leave after their freshman years. I do not think any other player is going to get that. They came in, they got that waiver because they had joined the SimWorld U prior to that installation of the rule was the petition that they went on and ultimately they won. But I wonder, is the to and through rule good? Right? And we're too early to really get a good vibe on it. But I think it's worth just asking the question, is the to and through rule good? And I think that if you look at this year's crop, right, you've got 4 freshmen. You probably throw Japhet Towns into that. I don't know that he's going to be a top 4 pick. I don't know that he's competing for the number 1 spot, but he's definitely a guy that's going to be involved in potentially being a top pick, a top 5 pick, top whatever pick that it might be. Nas Hall and D'Angelo Jordan, Justin Bell, Arthur Lattimore. Let's just throw Japhet Towns in there. If we looked at where would those guys have gone in last season's class, skill-wise, when you look at Jalen Snow, Cooper Kingy-Cross, Trey Turner, I don't know that all 4 of those guys, because I don't think Japhet Towns is, but let's go all 5. I don't know that all 5 of those guys would have been top 6 picks. And you might have gotten a team that takes one of them because they say, well, they're 18 and Trey Turner's, 21, 20 years old. But the talent level of Trey Turner, Jalen Snow, Cooper Kingy-Cross, as we sit here today, was higher, I think, than those 5 guys. So the to and through rule, the big opposition to it was, well, guys are coming out as freshmen, they're capable of being number 1 picks. I mean, Cooper Flag is the second youngest number 1 pick in SWBA history, and it's just by a matter of days behind LeBron James. So the argument for going back to one and done and not to and through would have been, well, you're taking guys that wouldn't have been as good or would have been good enough to play, and you're forcing them to play a second year. And while the number 1 and number 2 picks were in fact freshmen, I would be hard-pressed to find many SWBA folks that would have been more likely to take Bell, Jordan, Lattimore, and I think Nas Hall probably would have been the tail end of that. He had a really great, strong finish to the end of the season. I don't know if that finish would have been enough momentum to get him to be in the top 5. But I don't know that the 5 guys, that as we sit here today are expected to be the top 5 picks in some order next season, I don't know that they're breaking the top 6. Now, does that mean that the to and through rule is a wild success? No, it doesn't. One class in which you have elite talent where there's a pretty unanimous belief, doesn't mean it's going to be a reality, but a belief that Turner, Kingy-Cross, and Jalen Snow are all SWBA talents, along with Harper and Flag. And you're going to find some people that look at Snow and Kingy-Cross and say, actually, I'd take them over Harper, over Cooper Flag. That they didn't, but I think you're going to find some people that didn't have any skin in the game, that were picking in like the teens and the 20s, or didn't pick at all, that say, I actually would have taken one of those guys because I like what they're bringing. But I don't know that the next 4 guys, the next 5 guys that we've talked about, the sophomores this season, the top prospects, would have gone in. And now that doesn't mean it's a success. But what I do think it means is that the evaluation of talent will have to be more about the talent, right? Because I did a whole podcast, and we talked about the number that you look at all the picks, and they are time and time again, freshman. The anomaly to that, one of those anomalies, was Jalen Williams, who had 40 points in a massive SWBA Finals, who's an all-SWBA talent, who just signed a 5-year max deal worth up to $287 million. And so what I think we could be seeing is an evaluation of talent and not so much upside. Now, that does not mean you seniors out there that Lamarian Sherwood should have been the fifth pick in the draft. I'm not saying that because there are diminishing returns on getting older. But I think that we're going to see, and I think that these two classes, last season and this, are highlighting that there is an evaluation of talent in ways that previously there would have been more hope for potential. Because the number of top 10 picks that are still on the team that drafted them is sub 50%. It's very few. I think in the 2020 class or 21 class, I think it's 6 guys right now, and the 6th is Jonathan Kuminga, who doesn't want to go back to Golden State. Golden State really doesn't want him back, but they haven't found a trade partner to be able to make this happen. So this evaluation of talent and not upside, while historically speaking, this has not been good for the SWBA. Guys going in, you want to stay 3 years in college, we're not taking you in the top 10 because we like the guy that's got upside. I wonder if that changes. And if that is the case, the 2 and through rule would be a success. I was never against it. I was skeptical of people saying a senior should go where they thought a senior should go, and I stand by that. But if we're going to start evaluating on talent, and we're going to have guys stick around, because I think that's a big problem that we face right now in the SWBA, is there's too many guys moving. Like, why is it that our season is most interesting in the offseason? When there's the rumors of Kevin Durant, and that catches people's attention, and Jimmy Butler getting traded, and LeBron James, will he, won't he? I can tell you one thing. We're not talking will he, won't he LeBron James on SimWorld today. You want to know why? Because I don't care. Whatever, man. He's going to do what he wants to do. But the fact that and now we're in the offseason, so that's a big part of it. But the fact that generates so much attention is because guys aren't staying put. And if teams are going to draft well, and they're going to have a larger, evidence to show that a guy is good or a guy is not good, a larger body of work, and that's what they're drafting on, it's a win. The last thing, I'm not reporting anything in this third segment. As you all know, I'm not a reporter. We got really good reporters out there. And I'm not one of them. But here's one thing that I'm hearing. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the SWBA move to a 20-team lottery. Now, this is something I have said on multiple occasions I think should be the case, because I think the way the lottery is currently built is good. Top 14 teams get in. I love the flattened odds. I didn't love seeing Dallas get the number 1 pick, mostly because it just felt like it was rigged. I came on this show and I said it was rigged. I probably was wrong. It probably is not rigged just because of all the hoops that would have to go through for it to be rigged. But what I don't like is that there is actually the league wanted more teams to want to be competitive. But there is a very distinct line in the sand where that desire to be competitive is no longer intelligent, right? If you are competing to play in the play-in, that's good. If you're a bad team and you say we want to play competitive basketball and make it to the play-in, that's good. We should want that as a league. But that team should not want to get into the postseason, because if they do, well, then they lose their chance at getting the number 1 pick. Now, as infantilely small, 1% as it is, they would lose their chance to be in the lottery. So why are we incentivizing to be competitive, but we're not quite incentivizing to be like playoff competitive? Which is why I think the 20-team lottery makes sense. Because the chances, if you were to do it out with like a 1 or 0.5% odd for a team in that 15 through 20 range, it's not enough to stop somebody from wanting to be good, right? But it's enough to say, hey, you can make the postseason and you can still have a very small but an actual chance at getting a top 4 pick in the draft. To me, that makes sense, because right now it's you want to be good, but to a point. You want to be good enough to keep her around, but not so good that you want her to marry you. That's kind of the vibe that we're going. Be a gentleman, but then just at the last minute, be just enough of a bad dude that she doesn't stick around. And Rick Blaze can do a much more R-rated analogy for that. SimWorld today is made for everybody. We're PG, get to PG-13 every now and again. But the 14-team lottery incentivizes to a point. Extending it to 20 to me makes a ton of sense. So when I start hearing people in the SWB saying, could be discussed. The governors are meeting, right? There was a lot of conversation about maybe there's not expansion coming. Instead, the league is looking to go to Europe. Does that become anything? I don't know. But one of the items that I was told was brought up and could be voted on. I don't know if it happens or not. 20-team lottery. I'm not reporting that this is going to happen. I'm just saying people are talking about it. And if people are talking about it, those are good building blocks. And the more people talk about it, the better it becomes of becoming reality. So there's a winner right here. Not me, but that's a winning idea. And I would love to see that brought in to fruition. All right, we're back again on Monday, and I'm gonna just give you a heads up. We're gonna be soloing SimWorld today for a little bit. That's on my schedule. That has nothing to do with the guests that we brought on. Siege, Rico, Sniper, JK, and Yells. Each of them bring a lot of energy that I really appreciate. My schedule does not allow for them to be able to join. It's chaotic. So I just want to say that. I appreciate y'all's patience. Hope, just me, not driving you too nuts. We will have them back. This is not the Marsh Pod takeover forever. This is SimWorld Today, which we will have more voices, but give us a little bit of time before those voices return. So you're stuck with me again next week. But if you got stuff you want on the show, we can talk about things. It's the off season. We get funky. That's why we talk about the to and through rule. There's things going on. We'll talk to you on Monday here on SimWorld TV. Only place you can see the game, be the game.